Are we okay with this? All this like planes and cars and.
I can overdub it. I'll just ADR. I'll just.
Oh yeah. Pop it. Is that what he's doing?
Just beep beep beep.
The first cut. The first cut. The first cut. First cut.
I'll just teach you simple cuts to start with.
Hello, I'm Baron Vaugn and welcome to In the Cut. I'm here speaking with Jim Page, a man who has worked on many a film from Hansel and Gretel to Kiss Kiss Bang Bang to Firewall, and now he's here to my left, your right. Okay, so you worked on The Majestic.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
Actually, I was working on Salt and Sea before that, and Frank Darabont was one of the producers on that.
Oh, okay.
And it just he was kind of getting ready for that, and he plopped the script down one day and said, "Hey, you want to work on this with me?" And Frank Darabont throws the script on your desk and said, "Yeah, hell yeah." And it actually was really my first read of that script was really kind of. It just was really sentimental to me because it's kind of about this guy who goes back to his place and discovers who he is and this theater that they renovate and they live at and I grew up when I moved to San Diego when I was like 10 we moved and lived above the theater in this little apartment above the theater and I could hear the movies playing on the other side of the wall. So it was really kind of sentimental and the kind of love of film and cinema. Is
that how your love of film started being hearing?
Well, I didn't think of it in those days, but thinking back, it was, my sister and I both worked in the theater, and it was, we were close to it, changing the marquee and doing all those things as a kid, it was,
nice.
It was different, I threw papers and do all the typical jobs you had as a kid, but that was, my first kind of real...
That you loved.
Yeah. And nice. Being in the projection booth with the old arc light things that would spark it up and the old projectors and learning how to do changeovers and all that stuff. It was interesting. Yeah.
So the Majestic appealed to you because of that?
Yeah, and also just the kind of the love affair of movies and working with Frank. I mean, he's such a great storyteller. It was a great opportunity. Yeah.
Cool. I could throw out some.
Yeah, go ahead.
Like Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
Well, that was a fun ride on that one. It was, I think some of one of the fun things that we discovered and came up with. The concept was there, but how to achieve it was some of the transitions and the first person writing on the film and the stopping of the image to kind of literally break the film, stop the film, and to get a different thought in. That Robert, as he was narrating, was going along. That thing that we came up with was very specific to film and actually a moviola, how that stopped and looked in the film, and it was so we. Coming up with that concept was kind of fun and just manipulating it in that way, in a fun way to go with the kind of playfulness of the narration.
What about item number 4?
Yeah.
In terms of what is the process of working with visual effects? Every project's a little different, and with item number 4 we were creating these out of these otherworldly effects, and unlike putting the background of a green screen and car driving scene where you know what it's going to look like if you're driving through a city or whatever. DJ had very specific ideas about how things would look, and he developed obviously quite extensively in prep and the way they shot it to kind of enhance that. So you tweak it along the way. We had to tone down some of the light stuff to make it fit better in the story as we went along. But the big things like the monsters and the transforming of the dog. I mean that was all storyboarded out and quite extensively. And
I assume so.
Yeah, because it's quite a huge budget issue. So you're always like, okay, how can we cut some shots out of this sequence, or do you need every shot? Because if one shot could be
Have to.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
Cut it down. That's going to be like
$1
million. You don't have to use.
Yeah, whatever it is, but it's a lot of cash. So it's so you're always looking to do that. And obviously, you it's not like let's shoot this scene with these animals fighting and we'll just cut it down later. Just let the cameras roll. They're creating these shots. So anything you can do, if you're not going to use half the scene because you don't need that much of the fight, then you want to know that way in advance. So.
Right. Eagle Eye.
Mm-hmm.
The sequence under the power lines. Fun to work on or nerve-wracking?
Well, that was a scene that we actually cut down quite a bit because it was always we always were worried about the believability of not only, hey, she can blow up these wires and make them fall and then they happen to hit the sky. So it ended up being like, how can we make that happen? So it's more of a surprise, like, oh my God, as opposed to the longer setup that we had in the original.
What was the original setup?
Well, it was basically the same, but it was a longer, a longer development of it and execution, as it were, literally, of the final result. So, but yeah, it was a challenge of a sequence because all the wires obviously were created in visual effects. So getting that timed out right, and how are they going to fall? How fast would they fall? All those questions we had to think about as we put it together.
I love this. It's his questions. What the hell is up with that?
Well, I'm trying to throw you things that you shouldn't say.
What is up with that concept?
Yeah.
Regarding Hansel and Gretel. What was that like to work on Hansel and Gretel? And we're cutting in 3D, right?
Well, they shot it was about 50%. Shot in 3D. So we watched our dailies in 3D, but and I'd watch sequences back occasionally, but we had that ability. But it wasn't. We didn't. We weren't wearing 3D glasses day in and day out. We were actually fortunate enough to be able to reference the 3D material, and we always had it along with us. And actually, as we were finishing the movie, that became. We addressed that quite heavily about how the 3D look of things. You might hang on a shot longer to kind of absorb the 3D or extend something to have something fly through differently or longer or into the crowd or whatever it is. You do have to think about that, but ultimately you're cutting an action sequence for the action and the thrill and the excitement of the scene, and then we were able to luckily go back and realize, because a lot of times you don't see the 3D until, especially on this visual effect action sequence, you're not seeing the 3D until way later, so you can't really adjust for it. You can anticipate things, but you until you see it, you're not really sure how it's going to affect the viewing experience.
But in this situation, you felt like you didn't have.
Well, we did. Luckily, we were able to go. We finished that movie long before, and the release date was pushed, and we actually went back and shot the coda ending and a couple little things. So we were able to go back and tweak a few little things that we had seen on the final viewing when we kind of put it in a box for a little while. So it was helpful. I mean, that we benefited for that. We got to see the film in 3D finished kind of with the mix and everything, and then we knew we were coming back months and months later. So we kind of made notes like, if we could extend the shot, it might be better. So we were able to do some of that, which was helpful. And the studio let us, which was really sweet of them. Thank you, Paramount.
Thanks, Paramount. And that's it. Well, any closing thoughts? Anything you're working on now?
No, just turn the cameras off. Just cut.